Hey, it's Eli Social Studies.
Hey guys, welcome back to Cyrus Social Studies. Today we're going to be discussing some inventors, their effects, and we're going to lead into cities and factories. So the first breakthrough in the Industrial Revolution was how textiles or cloth goods were made. In 1769, an Englishman named Richard Arkwright invented a spinning machine called the water frame, which replaced spinning done by hand. Like the beginning of the Revolution, flowing water like streams or rivers were used as the power source for the water frame. Instead of one cotton thread being produced at a time, the water frame was able to produce dozens at a time. The mass production of threads led to cloth goods being processed quicker and more efficiently. Merchants all over Great Britain started building their textile mills near rivers and streams, aiding in Britain building the most productive textile manufacturing industry in the world. Now, Samuel Slater, a British entrepreneur, drafted or drew diagrams of the water frame and spinning machines and secretly brought this information of the textile mill manufacturing from Great Britain to the United States. Upon the introduction of this technology, the textile industry exploded and quickly thrived in the northeastern part of the United States, which introduced the Industrial Revolution to American manufacturing. So while the expansion of the textile industry had an effect on the United States that no one could have predicted, in the South, slavery was on the decline until in 1794 Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. Now, the invention of the cotton gin forever altered the economy, geography, and politics in the United States. The use of slaves to take the seeds out of the cotton pod was not turning out to be very profitable. Before the cotton gin, one slave could remove the seeds or process 1 pound of cotton in a 10-hour day. After the invention of the cotton gin, 2 slaves could process about 50 to 100 pounds in the exact same time span. The cotton gin made removing the seeds from cotton a faster, more efficient process, leading to the vast expansion in the production of cotton mills. Now, Eli Whitney is not only famous for the cotton gin, but he is also famous for the idea that aided in the mass production of products. With factories in the United States needing better technology to manufacture muskets, Whitney stepped up to the plate again. Whitney created the idea of interchangeable parts. Interchangeable parts are producing parts to a machine that are identical to make musket manufacturing easy and more efficiently. The reproduction of parts to interchange on a machine or musket if it broke resulted in faster production and more mass production. If a machine broke down, a small part can be replaced in a short amount of time, leading to a quicker recovery in the factories. And if a musket piece broke on the battlefield, the soldier could just replace the part rather than needing to scrap the whole musket. Now, Whitney's effect on agriculture was huge, and we also had some other agricultural improvements of the 18th century. Now, these agricultural improvements have been promoted by people whose industrial and commercial interests made them willing to experiment with new machines and processes to improve the productivity of their estates. Cyrus McCormick developed the mechanical reaper in 1831 that quickly and efficiently harvested wheat. He would go on to use a very innovative idea for the early 19th century as well. He used a new sales method to advertise and encourage sales of the reaper. McCormick also allowed people to purchase on credit and provided spare parts and service repairs for his machines. Before 1837, American farmers were using iron plows. Iron was one of the softer metals and was more often damaged or broken when working in fields of stone and dry soil. After 1837, farmers used a new, stronger steel plow that was invented by John Deere. The steel plow replaced the less efficient iron plow and helped farmers more efficiently plant and harvest huge crop fields, helping the agricultural field prosper. These inventions revolutionized textile and agricultural production in the United States, but the Industrial Revolution affected the production of goods on a whole other level, producing goods faster, cheaper, and more efficiently. So the previously mentioned shift from flowing water power to steam power allowed business owners to build factories anywhere they pleased. Factories moved closer to cities and transportation centers, where cities became the center of industrial growth. Many Americans moved from the rural farmlands into the urban city area to work at these factory jobs that needed very little skill or no skill at all. This would affect many things, including inner city immigration growth and a more dense population, leading to many sanitary and crime problems. The cities, the sewers were overflowing, pollution was piling up, filth was covering the buildings, and disease spread rapidly due to the unsanitary conditions and the close proximity of such a large population. And so, along with deteriorating urban areas, the factories also suffered. Factory work was not like any other work that has been seen before. Employees would work for 12 to 14 hours a day in unhealthy conditions. Workers would only get 30 minutes a day for lunch and would work around dangerous machinery without any safety precautions put in place by the factory. Light was very dim in many factories, and the burning of whale oil sent out a horrible smell and smoke. Work was so dangerous that many employees would lose their limbs or even die on the job. Women in the textile factories would have to worry about their hair getting caught in the machines. Men in the glass industry would have to worry about scalding their hands to the bone without the use of gloves. So the increasing number of Americans willing to move to the cities and work unskilled factory jobs for very little pay hurt the skilled craftsmen of the past. Craftsmen wages dropped in competition against cheap manufactured goods, and wages of the factory worker dropped as many Americans competed for those jobs. So deteriorating working conditions and long hours led to protests and the creation of labor unions. Employees worked 12 to 14-hour days in unhealthy conditions. Craftsmen's wages dropped in competition against cheap manufactured goods. This led to the wages of factory workers dropping as well as they competed for those jobs. The creation of labor unions fought against the negatives of industrialization. Here's the idea behind a labor union. If you took one finger and poked yourself in the cheek or poked somebody in the cheek with one finger, that would be annoying. That would be like if you yourself went to your boss and said, "Can I get a raise?" What would your boss's response be? It might be, "You're fired." But now, if you kept poking somebody in the face with that one finger, and then you turned all one finger into 5 fingers and maybe made a fist and punched somebody in the face, that would make a difference. You see how one finger doing the poking didn't hurt, but if you got all 5 involved, that would hurt. That was the idea behind a labor union. If you were working on a floor and you wanted the raise, if you were able to convince everybody on this floor, let's say 100 employees, to go to the boss to say, "Hey, we quit unless we get a raise," your boss might think differently. Now, he couldn't possibly fire you all. Now, some occasions that might have happened. With the vast influx of immigration to America, some bosses could just fire and hire and use people as interchangeable parts. But the idea was that if you had everybody doing it, then the boss would have to maybe think about it and sometimes comply with your demands. So craftsmen formed trade unions to gain higher wages and better working conditions in the workplace. The trade union was formed by a group of workers in a certain field. The idea is that the more workers that are involved in the fight against the bosses, the better chance they have in gaining their labor objective. Labor unions staged protests called strikes, refusing to work until employers met their demands. One of these mill workers named Sarah G. Bagley helped lead the union movement in Massachusetts. Her union campaigned to reduce the 12 to 14-hour workday down to a 10-hour workday. Several states passed the 10-hour workday law, giving union workers some victories. In other states, the workday remained long and child labor will prevail. And now we're going to go into so as you can see, some of these inventors had some really big effects on the Industrial Revolution. And we also had now industry growing in urban areas, labor unions popping up to fight against the deteriorating working conditions. And now we're going to get into the transportation and communication revolution. I'll see you next time.